My friends, the word of the day is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy, I say. My friends, we're seeing it on parade all over the place, parading around in the media, being disguised, people calling it truth. It's not. It's shrill, shrieking hypocrisy. My name's Howard Riell. This is Riell Truth. Item from circa.com. The office of Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina confirmed to Circa that Mrs. Clinton, Hillary Clinton, called her office in March 2011 to demand that Dr. Muhammad Yunus, a 2006 Nobel Prize winner, be restored to his role as chairman of the country's most famous microcredit bank, Grameen Bank. The bank's nonprofit Grameen America, which Yunus chairs, has given between $100,000 and $250,000 to the Clinton Global Initiative. Grameen Research, which is chaired by Yunus, has donated between $25,000 and $50,000 according to the Clinton Foundation website. Unquote. So here we have pay for play. Here we have a sitting Secretary of State shaking people down, giving benefits to her friends or supporters, anyone who gives her money. Now, you listen closely and tell me if you can hear Democrats calling for an investigation and a special prosecutor, because I don't hear it. Whatever happened to all those choruses on the campaign trail of lock her up, lock her up? Whatever happened to that investigation into the Clinton Foundation? Why is Hillary Clinton still walking around free? Why are there two sets of justice in this country? Why are people who are protected, who are powerful, who are wealthy like the Clintons, why do they get to skate? If there's an investigation of Hillary Clinton going on now, Americans have a right to know about it. I know, I hear the media screeching louder than ever they want an investigation into something that's pure fantasy. Russian collusion with Trump didn't happen. Wouldn't have happened. If anything, the Russians wanted Hillary Clinton to be president because she's a numbskull and they would have wound her around their finger. The last thing they wanted was Trump as president. This is worse than a tempest in the teapot. It's absolutely nothing. It's empty. It's zero. While a career sleazebag like Hillary Clinton and her husband go free. Doesn't that piss you off? Don't you want to know why? Don't you think you have a right to demand to know why? Don't you think you can get your senator and Congress on the phone and demand to know why? I think you could. It's Thursday. Riell Truth. We'll be back.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
The associates at your 24-hour Walmart Supercenter in Lafayette, Vermont. No one anywhere is more noble, righteous, selfless, or courageous than our United States Armed Forces. These brave men and women and their families foot the bill for our freedom every day. Send a military care package today to let them know that they are in our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts. This message is from the associates at your 24-hour Walmart Supercenter on Highway 287 in Lafayette. They're on the air because they care.
If catastrophe struck, would your family be prepared? Are you confident you wouldn't react in a panic? Is there one place to get all of your emergency supplies? Ferris Survival encourages you to have confidence through preparation, not panic through crisis. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing quality, realistic preparedness supplies at an affordable price. Go online, stop by, or call 303-781-0343. Ferris Survival.
All it takes is common sense. My friends, anybody with a little bit of common sense and a little bit of insight knows that this hooey about Trump and the Russians is nonsense. I'm not the only one who knows it. You know it. Rush Limbaugh knows it. Let's listen to what he has to say. Rush, let me correct you a little bit. It's not that they believe it. 9 months, not one single piece of evidence that this thing exists, and they're still screeching about it. Why? Because they've got nothing else to say. They have no plan for America. They don't want to help fixing Obamacare because it's their baby, their disaster. They're all out of ideas. They have no spokesman. They have no leader. They're probably, hopefully, cowering in shame at having chosen a sleazebag like Hillary to be their standard bearer. The Democrats are naked before the world. They've got nothing to do but scream. Nothing to offer but scream. We'll take a break and we'll be back, my friend. Sorry, I didn't mean to scream.
Now this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19.
Tonight.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Piccolo's Restaurant in Denver reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's Restaurant in Denver is not only the best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Piccolo. This is the uniformed people in Greeley, police, firefighters, work in our community. We thank them for doing a great job keeping our area live, shop, and raise a family. We realize their job is dangerous, sometimes bad. This message is from the uniformed people in Greeley. Call 352-2233. They're on the air because they care. And one of the most environmental sources in America. Census, the uniformed people in Greeley.
My friends, welcome back to Riell Truth. Howard Riell. My job is to bring you guys the best, most honest, most accurate information possible, to wit, from just several hours ago, last night, Sean Hannity on Fox News. Go.
Tonight, Comey's out and the tinfoil hat conspiracy leftists are losing it.
The only people who got to be happy tonight are sitting in the Kremlin.
The vice president defends the president's move.
President Trump made the right decision at the right time.
And the unhinged late-night hosts are absolutely beside themselves.
This is the kind of thing dictators do.
Hannity starts right here, right now. And thanks to our friends on the 5. Welcome to Hannity. And this is a Fox News alert. Another massive breaking news night. Now the great one. Mark Levin, Newt Gingrich, Michelle Malkin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Jay Sekulow, Geraldo Rivera, all here tonight with reaction. But first, tinfoil hat conspiracy liberals in Congress to destroy Trump media. They are absolutely losing it. They're completely unhinged, of course, over James Comey being fired, which needed to happen. And that is tonight's important opening monologue. All right, so you have deranged, liberal, crackpots, they're at it again, and they're using President Trump's decision, very important decision, to fire the now former FBI director to push all kinds of brand new, completely insane, bizarre conspiracy theories. Now, earlier today in the Oval Office, President Trump was asked why he decided to fire James Comey. Here is what he said.
Why did you fire Director Comey?
Because he wasn't doing a good job, very simply. He was not doing a good job.
That is a simple, basic, fundamental truth that liberals refuse to face. James Comey was shown the door. He did not do his job. Now, Comey failed you. Remember this, the American people. He disrespected the Constitution. He made a mockery out of the rule of law and equal justice under the law. He sat on his hands while your Fourth Amendment privacy rights were being trampled on, and he created, most dangerously, a two-tiered justice system, one for Bill and Hillary Clinton and one for everybody else. Now, that man's conduct was and is shameful and inexcusable. In fact, it's why not that long ago, Democrats were calling for Comey's head. This is the funny part. They're now suffering a massive case of selective amnesia and are feigning moral outrage. And we're going to show you examples of that stunning hypocrisy in just a second. But first, I want to highlight how facts do not matter to the left in America today. For example, the Destroy Trump media. They've been going insane and ballistic and running wild with the most absurd kinds of conspiracy theories over why Comey was fired. This is insanity on display, representing itself as news. What's this?
It's a grotesque abuse of power by the President of the United States. This is the kind of thing that goes on in non-democracies. I have not seen anything like this since October 20th, 1973, when President Nixon fired Archibald Cox, the Watergate special prosecutor.
The only winner, the only people who got to be happy tonight are sitting in the Kremlin. This is the result of letting someone like Putin throw marbles on the stairs, banana peels on the sidewalk for American democracy, and not having the president stand up and say, you know what, I want this to stop.
President Trump say America first. Tonight, President Trump put himself first.
A little whiff of fascism tonight, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
A little whiff of, I don't care about the law, I'm the boss. I do see the Romanoff aspect of this administration. The people he trusts are his family members. The people that, as his bodyguard to deliver that kind of information, his body man. It's monarchical.
Firing Archibald Cox was the first shovel into Richard Nixon's political grave. And it always works like that.
And my friends, if you don't believe her, take it from me, you can always trust the word of an angry liberal TV host.
Saturday Night Massacre, whiff of fascism, NBC News. This is beyond outrageous, but it's not surprising. Now, the liberal media, they want to destroy President Trump. They want him out of office. Now they will do and say anything to make that happen. Now, keep in mind, the Destroy Trump media, they're the same people. It was proven, colluded with Hillary Rodham Clinton during her campaign. And, of course, they tried to help her win the White House. Now, they ignore the fact that Hillary Clinton, look at your screen, they broke multiple laws. Right there, you can see them. Having a private email server that contained secret, top secret, special access programs, classified information. Now, we're the only ones really in the media that told you the truth about the Clintons, while the rest of the media covered it all up and colluded. And one more thing about the Destroy Trump media. They have been lying for months to the American people about this Trump, Russia, fake news talking point, and they're continuing it even still. There is zero evidence so far that Donald Trump, his campaign, his transition, ever colluded with the Russians. It is a bizarre conspiracy theory, and honestly, they have to know the truth, but won't tell you the truth. For example, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, has said many, many times he's seen no evidence of Russian collusion. Here's one example.
Let me ask you this. Does intelligence exist that can definitively answer the following question, whether there were improper contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials?
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge. We had no evidence of such collusion.
Not to my knowledge, no evidence of collusion. And, of course, you have the deranged Democrats. Now, they're pretending to be so outraged over Comey's firing and saying the most insane things. You talk about selective moral outrage. This is it on steroids. Take a look.
We know Director Comey was leading an investigation in whether the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians. A serious offense.
All right, guys, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Instead of listening to all the liberal idiots yammering about absolute crap, I'm going to fast forward to Sean Hannity talking to Mark Levin. We'll get some intelligence on the line. Go ahead, Sean.
He is the host of Levin TV at CRTV Network. I call him the great one, Mark Levin. My friend, all these analogies, Watergate, Saturday Night Massacre, whiff of fascism, the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories being spun, Russia. No evidence of Russia, Mark. One, tell us why this was necessary from your legal perspective. Two, how this hypocrisy and these conspiracies are actually really dangerous.
First of all, the president didn't order an end to the Russia investigation, now did he? Now, we have a lot of legal and historical illiterates posing as TV hosts and commentators like Jeffrey Toobin, among others. Let me be very specific. Richard Nixon, during Watergate, ordered the Attorney General to fire the special prosecutor. He refused. Then he ordered the Deputy Attorney General to fire the special prosecutor, and he refused. Here, the Deputy Attorney General writes a memorandum urging the Attorney General and the President to fire the FBI Director. The Attorney General attaches it to a letter, endorses it, and the President of the United States fires him. It has nothing to do with Watergate, but of course the media and the Democrats, one and the same, wanted to deal with Watergate. The President did not order in any respect an end to the Russian investigation. But I have a couple questions, if I might, for Chuck Schumer, who is the leading demagogue in all this. Tell me something, Mr. Schumer. Can you name a single Russian, just one, who colluded with Donald Trump in his campaign? Just give us one. One. You got intelligence committees who've been investigating. You've had this interminable federal investigation that's gone on. Let's have it. Now, I have another question for Mr. Schumer. You like these independent special prosecutors. Sean, have you noticed they all use the same phrases? We can't trust the Justice Department to investigate. They can't even name the FBI agents who are involved in this investigation. I'm sure they are career agents that'll do their job regardless of who the FBI director is. But Mr. Schumer likes these independent special prosecutors. Let me ask you something, sir. Do you support an independent special prosecutor for Hillary Clinton and her multiple violations of the Espionage Act? Do you support an independent special prosecutor for the Obama administration's surveillance and unmasking of Trump transition team members and God knows who else? The Israeli ambassador was surveilled. The prime minister of Israel was surveilled. Members of Congress were surveilled. Jewish leaders and Jewish groups were surveilled. How about an independent investigation of that? Got another one, Mr. Schumer. How about an independent special prosecutor to investigate this whole seedy Iranian deal with the secret deals, the ransom payments, the release of terrorists that we find out after the fact? Let me tell you what's going on here, Sean. The President of the United States followed the Constitution, followed the law, and followed the advice of a Deputy Attorney General who won 94-6 his confirmation on April 25th. That means almost every single Democrat voted for him. You want to know why? The guy doesn't have a political bone in his body. He's worked for Bill Clinton. He's worked for George Bush. He is a career public integrity prosecutor, a criminal prosecutor. He's been an assistant U.S. attorney and a U.S. attorney. And Sean, the two big left-wing senators from Maryland went to his confirmation hearing, introduced him, and urged the committee to support him for Deputy Attorney General. This man comes into the Justice Department. He hears what Schumer has said. He hears what Clinton has said. And he has seen with his own eyes what Comey did. Then he watches Comey's testimony the week before, last week, in which Comey doubles down on his outrageous behavior. And what happens? He writes a memo to the Attorney General and says, Mr. Attorney General, this director of the FBI, I have to deal with him. He's my direct report. I don't trust him. He needs to go. And the President of the United States in the end did exactly the right thing. He did what Barack Obama didn't have the courage to do, which is to remove an FBI director that didn't have the temperament to be an FBI director.
Well said. Let's talk about this from the legal point of view. And you have studied the Constitution your entire life. You were Ed Meese's chief of staff when he was the Attorney General of the United States. When we talk about, Mark, equal justice under the law, when we talk about a two-tier justice system, It is overwhelming and incontrovertible, the evidence that Hillary Clinton violated numerous laws, committed numerous felonies, and that's just on the email server scandal. The Uranium One deal in which you mentioned, the Clinton Foundation, she signed off 20% of America's uranium going to Vladimir Putin. Now, there's a Russian conspiracy. And then, of course, General Flynn. The one law we know was broken was when this man was, incidentally surveilled, but then unmasked. And then the surveillance leaked and his entire reputation destroyed. That's a felony under the Espionage Act. For the average person that is maybe hearing some of these tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, what does it mean to this country if we have a two-tier justice system and we don't have equal justice under the law?
Well, the people of this country need to understand what the President of the United States did was take the advice of a career prosecutor who was confirmed 94-6 by the United States Senate and backed by almost every Democrat. And that career prosecutor, as opposed to Chuck Schumer, who is a career political hack demagogue, that career prosecutor looked at this case, and I might add, James Comey is under investigation by the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, too. That career prosecutor, who's now the Deputy Attorney General, nonpartisan, non-political, looked at what Comey had done. He got in there April 25th. And by the way, I find it fascinating that Democrats say, why did he act now? The same Democrats who have stonewalled the confirmation of almost all of the president's cabinet selections, let alone his second-tier cabinet selections, finally this outstanding choice for Deputy Attorney General is confirmed 2 weeks ago. And then he looks at this situation and he says, this man needs to be removed. The answer is the president followed the Constitution and Chuck Schumer is undermining the Constitution.
All right, Mark, rare appearance. I ask all of Mark's fans to tell Mark, to come on the show more often. We love having you. Thank you.
All right, well, guys, we're hitting a break in about 2 minutes. Let me squeeze in some news, and then we'll come back. Item from InfoWars. A new study has found that 55% of the U.S. public believe America is in danger of losing its culture and identity. Nonpartisan research group PRRI has published a raft of statistics that underscore how insecure Americans, particularly white working-class Americans, feel about their future. Asked if the United States was losing its culture and identity, 55% of respondents said yes. 68% of white working-class Americans feeling that way. Almost half of white working-class Americans also feel, quote, things have changed so much that I often feel like a stranger in my own country, unquote. 62% believe immigrants arriving from other countries threaten American culture, unquote. Well, my friends, that last one, that's a slam dunk. Of course they threaten American culture. They come from cultures from the third world that are diametrically opposed to American culture. They don't believe what we believe. They don't have the values that we have. They don't believe in the future of humanity the way we do. And so, yeah, it's a bad fit, which is why we shouldn't try and fit them in at all. Let's take a break, and we'll be back, my friends. More Real Truth.
R&R Supply Incorporated in Fort Collins reminds listeners, every day our troops demonstrate their dedication to our nation. Now is the time for us to return the favor. Hire our returning veterans as well as those who have served in the past. After investing their lives in our nation, they deserve our investment in them. This message is from R&R Supply Incorporated in Fort Collins, and they're on the air, reminding all of us that our freedom has never been free.
And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution.
Elizabeth Locker Plan, and Elizabeth reminds our listeners that the drug problem is well documented. We know our kids will be approached at early age.
We want to applaud the youngsters in our community who have had the strength to say no to drugs. They provide examples to their peers and families to be the best they can be. That's from Elizabeth Locker Plant, located at 366 Grant Street in Elizabeth, serving our area since 1943 and specializing in naturalized aged beef and pork and complete custom processing. Call 303-688-2240. That's 303-688-2240. If catastrophe struck, would your family be prepared? Are you confident you wouldn't react in a panic? Is there one place to get all of your emergency supplies? Ferris Survival encourages you to have confidence through preparation, not panic through crisis. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing quality, realistic preparedness supplies at an affordable price. Go online, stop by, or call 303-781-0343. Ferris Survival. The associates at your 24-hour Walmart Supercenter in Lafayette remind us, no one anywhere is more noble, righteous, selfless, or courageous than our United States Armed Forces. These brave men and women and their families foot the bill for our freedom every day. Send a military care package today to let them know that they are in our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts. This message is from the associates at your 24-hour Walmart Supercenter on Highway 287 in Lafayette. They're on the air because they care.
Starting the second half of the show, my friends, just in time. Okay, still Riell Truth, still Howard Riell. I'm going to throw it back to Sean Hannity. He's continuing his show. This is just from last night. You're about to hear Hannity and Vice President Mike Pence and former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. Take it away, Sean.
President fired Comey. I'll explain a mini monologue. We'll get reaction from Michelle Malkin, also Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Jay Sekulow.
There is no president will choose an individual who will be able to restore the confidence of our nation in our leading law enforcement agency. President Trump made the right decision at the right time. The former Director of National Intelligence has said there is no evidence of collusion. The President and I remain confident that the committees in the House and the Senate that are looking into every aspect of issues that arise out of last year's election will be able to do their work and do it in an orderly way.
That was the Vice President Mike Pence earlier today defending President Trump's decision to fire James Comey. Here now with reaction, the author of the soon-to-be-released book, Understanding Trump, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. If it wasn't so serious, the bizarre tinfoil hat conspiracies, they'd actually be funny. But it's now become organic in spite of, as I pointed out in the last segment, Admiral Rogers and Clapper and so many others. There's not a shred of evidence. Not a shred.
Right.
So it would be funny.
Well, I'll tell you what's equally amazing. Some of the liberal networks are now actually reminding Democrats of what they said about Comey in the last few months. And I mean, I've never seen them do this before. I think the Democrats are now so out of sync with reality that even the more liberal networks are beginning to have to say, now, wait a second. Remember when you said this and you said this and you said this? The objective fact is that there is no evidence that President Trump did anything in any way that was inappropriate. And I think that partly you have, and you saw this with Hillary Clinton last week, they can't look in the mirror and say, I lost. So there's got to be some, somebody did it to them. And I think the next phase after this burns out will be Martians. I think they'll go back and pull up.
I didn't expect
Mars
that.
They're going to pull up. They're going to pull up Mars Attacks as a movie.
I'm sitting here. The next phase of this is going to be, and I'm expecting something profound in Martians. Okay, Laura said last night, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
That's profound.
That's right. I got it. I understand. I want to go to the Rod Rosenstein. I mean, what was it, April 25th, 94-6. Democrats approved him. They loved him. He was appointed by Obama to, I guess, be the U.S. Attorney in Maryland. And he and all of these other attorney generals during the Ford era, even for crying out loud, Eric Holder and others, all say the same thing. O'Casey and so many really smart attorney generals, deputy attorney generals from all these past administrations.
Look, the fact is that's the real argument that the Democrats have. Here is somebody who is a career professional. I think he served starting back in the Clinton administration in the Justice Department. He was picked, he was Obama's choice to be the U.S. Attorney for Maryland. He, as you point out, he's endorsed 94-6. And he's the guy who writes the memo that says we will never be able to rebuild the FBI as long as Comey is there. Now, if you're the President of the United States and out of a nonpartisan career professional, you get a memo like that, you have a pretty strong pressure to act and to do the right thing for the country. And I believe in firing Comey that President Trump did exactly the right thing.
So as the great historian that you are, and this is your love and passion, and I've always felt you were more professor. I'm not setting you up, more professorial. You actually were a professor. All of these analogies for Watergate, Mark touched on it a little bit in the last segment, they're so inadequate and false, and it's almost universal. And then it goes a little further at NBC with the whiffs of fascism comments. Do you want to just address that from a historical perspective? It's not the Saturday Night Massacre.
No, well, first of all, they're totally different environments. The fact is that you are now dealing with a desperation on the left. I mean, I think the only way you can understand the news media and the left-wing Democrats is that it's a pathology. I mean, it's not a political event. It's a psychosis brought about by the shock on election night that the world they knew was coming, namely Hillary Clinton, a liberal Supreme Court, imposing radical values using the power of government. Sometime around 8 or 9 o'clock that night, it disappeared. And they have never gotten over it. And as a result, you see these kind of nutty statements. You know, when President Clinton fired the director of the FBI, I don't remember anybody jumping up and saying there was a whiff of fascism about doing it. The objective reality is that the president was given advice by a career professional who was acceptable to Obama, acceptable by 94-6 to the Senate. He took that advice. But my deeper point here, Sean, is if President Trump comes out tomorrow morning and announces that he has decided that the United States flag is red, white, and blue, Chuck Schumer is going to jump up and say, you see, once again he's wrong because it's fuchsia. Don't all of you understand that it's fuchsia? Because they can't agree on anything that Trump wants. And so it's kind of like they wake up in the morning and they say, I know Trump's guilty. What is it he did? And that's their whole approach right now. And we just saw in Omaha, by the way, they had a good guy running for mayor, had a real chance to win. And the more people realized who the Democrats were, the more his campaign collapsed.
All right. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us. And
guys, it's true. The Democrats will not embrace reality. They will not help the American people. They won't help fix anything that they've broken over the last 8 years in this country. They're like spoiled little children sitting on the sidewalk refusing to walk with mommy and daddy. They need time out. Item from Reuters. The U.S. government had a $182 billion budget surplus in April, confounding market expectations of a deficit, according to Treasury Department data released on Wednesday. The budget surplus was $106 billion in April 2016, according to Treasury's monthly budget statement. The fiscal 2017 year-to-date deficit was $344 billion. My friends, don't get bogged down in the numbers. We're back out of the red. We're in the plus column. We're in the black. And we have Donald Trump to thank for it. You know it as well as I do. Item from Agence France Presse, Dateline, Caracas, Venezuela. Thousands of babies died in Venezuela last year, new official data show, highlighting the tragic impact of the country's economic crisis as political tension heightened with deadly street clashes on Wednesday. Quote, my friends, this is the socialist utopia that Bernie Sanders supporters wanted to bring to America. No food, no jobs, no money, babies dying all over the place. 11,466 babies died in 2016 because socialism worked so well. I wish someone would take these numbers and go to today's college students and say, listen, you young schmucks, you don't know what the hell you're saying. Shut up and learn for a minute. Socialism doesn't work. It leads to disaster. It leads to this. Dead babies in the streets in Venezuela. Empty supermarket shelves. You want that here in America? We'll be back.
I'm here with the DuPont Pioneer team. So tell us, what are you bringing to the table to help producers manage feed costs?
Feed management is always on a producer's mind.
It sure is. So we take a whole operation approach to help them maximize feed value.
By combining the right products with our expertise and services, we can help producers improve profitability.
It's big picture thinking for big time production.
So work with your DuPont Pioneer team to get the most out of every bite. Pioneer, with you from the word go.
He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America News Network.
Freely. Police, firefighters, work in our community. Effective for doing a great job in our area. To live, shop, and raise a family. We realize their job is dangerous. Sometimes bad. This message is from Service Uniform People in Greeley. Call 352-2233. They're on the air because they care. And our America. Census, the uniform people in Greeley.
All right, guys, welcome back to Riell Truth. Howard Riell manning the microphone. Steve Malzberg, colleague of mine at Newsmax TV, sat down with Pat Buchanan, who's been involved in presidential politics for a very long time, ever since he worked for Richard Nixon. Right? That's right. All right, here we go. Steve Malzberg, Pat Buchanan, go.
Is the one and only Patrick J. Buchanan, former GOP presidential candidate, former staffer for Presidents Reagan and Nixon, and author of a great new book. There it is on your TV screen. Nixon's White House Wars, the battles that made and broke a president and divided America forever. Always good to see you, my friend. You are a living legend.
Well,
do you know that? I mean, you really are. You're a national treasure. You're a living legend. I mean, you.
Yeah, don't pour it on too thick, Steve.
When Jimmy Carter said I was Andy.
I don't know what Jimmy Carter. I try to forget everything about Jimmy Carter. I want to get to the book. Great book.
Thank you.
But there's a tie-in here, and I think it was very nice of Donald Trump to fire the FBI director, knowing that you're on your book tour, and you have a whole chapter on the Saturday Night Massacre, and all I'm hearing from the liberal media is the firing of Comey is analogous to what happened under Nixon and Archibald Cox, the special prosecutor. And you were there at Nixon's side, and you say what?
Look, as Mark said, history repeats itself. First is tragedy, then is farce. I was in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, that Saturday afternoon, when Elliot Richardson was waiting outside to be brought in to be fired. Nixon had just aided Israel in the Six-Day War. Kissinger was in Moscow. We had lost our vice president that month, and you had Archibald Cox was defying the president over a simple matter, whether he would accept summaries of the tapes, written summaries of the Watergate sections, or whether he wanted the actual tapes. Elliot Richardson was supposed to be aboard. I thought he was aboard the night before. And the next day he said, if Cox balks, I'm going to stay with him. Nixon said, I don't have any choice, but I can't have Brezhnev telling, watch me be bullied by a member of my cabinet. I've got to fire him. And so he did, and he said, I'm going to go down to the GS7 if necessary to get that guy fired. But it was a huge event. He fired the Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General, Ruckelshaus, refused to do it. And the guy that did it was a pretty honorable fellow. His name was Robert Bork, who was the great would-be justice of the Supreme Court.
He got borked, though.
Yeah, and so, but I'll tell you, it was far more grave and serious. I left there Saturday evening, and I'd written a line for Ziegler to say this, the White House
Press Secretary Ron Ziegler, yes.
Ziegler, that the independent prosecutor's office has ceased to exist. We'd shut that down. I went out to dinner, and my friends from St. Louis were there, and I came in, said there'll be resolutions of impeachment in the House on Tuesday. There were 20 of them. That was the beginning of the impeachment. But this was a huge matter. I mean, Comey, with due respect, he's the FBI director. I think he's a man of good character, good abilities, but he's made a lot of blunders. And Chuck Schumer, who was begging that he be fired, is now about to impeach Trump for firing him.
Yeah. So
it's absurdity. This to compare the two or equate the two. One of them is an enormous event in American history, and this is just a removal of a controversial FBI director and placement, I'm sure, with a qualified fellow.
Yeah, it's very interesting. What do you think, though, of the move? I mean, and the timing of the move. Again, if he wanted to do it from the get-go, he could have fired him on day one. He didn't do that. There are reports now that days before he was fired, Comey had asked for more money to expand the Russian investigation. The New York Times is reporting that this afternoon. If that's the case, does that make it smell?
By the way, my friends, that's an impossibility. It's not how the FBI works. They don't go hand in hand for money for a specific investigation. They get an allotment from Congress every year. So that report from the New York Times, like so many reports from the New York Times, is simply inaccurate and wrong. Let's continue.
Funny, does that muddy the waters?
Well, there's no question that you fire someone who's the nominal head of the investigation. Investigation is going to go forward. There's another investigation being done down in Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office. But you're right. It has an appearance, oh my goodness, the chief investigator's been fired. And now you mentioned this. I don't know what the motivation was. I don't think it was the fact that what Comey did to Hillary Clinton. Because Trump seemed to be pretty much down with that during the campaign. But he's exasperated and angry with him. But the fundamental point is he's got a right to do this. The FBI director's got 10-year tenure, but he's subject to the discipline of the President of the United States, and he works underneath the executive branch, which the President runs. But I have not heard of this latest report.
Yeah.
But if it is, I mean, it will stir up a lot of argument and there'll be a lot of investigation on the Hill.
So he has a right to do it, but it doesn't look good.
Well, yeah, it doesn't look good. You got to fire.
Well, but Donald Trump is not a politician. He doesn't care how it looks. He cares what it does for the country. This is the part that people don't get. This Washington crowd, they don't get it. The timing was ridiculous. No politician would have done it now, but Trump's not a politician. He's not playing politics. How refreshing is that? He saw an FBI director who is not functioning well, badly serving America, making mistakes, and he said, stop, I want you out. How did it serve America for Trump to have left Comey in the job for X number of weeks more? If something's broke, you get rid of it, you replace it. It's just that simple. Looks bad? My friends, who cares if it looks bad? Only the screeching liberals in the media care. The rest of us don't care. Who cares if it's Comey? Get him out. Replace him with someone dependable, someone who can function, who can repair the damage done at the FBI. The country ought to be breathing a collective thanks for Donald Trump, who's taking care of business, not politics. Politics has brought America low and just about killed us, strangled us. Trump says no more politics. Now we're going to fix what's wrong. Now it's time for the grown-ups to come in and start working. And that's just what he's doing. All right, we're about to hit a break. We'll take it. We'll come back and we'll finish up for the week, my friends. Listen to me. Get my book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry. You don't have to miss me on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can have me right by your bedstand. Read me before you go to sleep. You may have some nightmares, but only because of the terrible things that have been done to America and the American people. All chronicled in my book, Riell Truth, Stay Angry. We'll take a break now. We will be back, and we'll talk about heroin. That's always a pleasant topic, right? We'll talk about heroin booming across America. If you've got kids, you better stick around and listen to this. We'll be right back.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Piccolo's restaurant in Denver reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's restaurant in Denver is not only the best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Piccolo. Elizabeth Lockerplan and Elizabeth reminds our listeners that the drug problem is well documented. We know our kids will be approached at early age. We want to applaud the youngsters in our community who have had the strength to say no to drugs. They provide examples to their peers and families to be the best they can be. That's from Elizabeth Lockerplant, located at 366 Grant Street in Elizabeth, serving our area since 1943 and specializing in naturalized aged beef and pork and complete custom processing. Call 303-688-2240. That's 303-688-2240.
Item from Breitbart in an extensive article published last month that included interviews with more than 30 current and former law enforcement officials, congressional officials, and other government employees. The New York Times published a stinging indictment of James Comey's handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe. The Times made the case that Comey violated FBI tradition, bypassed the Justice Department, and went rogue on several occasions in a manner that clearly impacted the 2016 presidential election. Unquote. My friends, what do you do with someone like that? You can his ass. Item from Breitbart as well. According to new statistics, over 500,000 asylum seekers now receive some kind of welfare benefit from the German state. In neighboring Austria, the migrant unemployment rate is now over 20%. The numbers come from the German Federal Agency for Employment, were announced earlier this week. The statistics come as many still worry about the ability of the over 1 million migrants who came to Germany during the migrant crisis to integrate into the German job market, T-Online reports. Unquote. My friends, you can stop worrying. The migrants, the Muslims, are not going to integrate into the job market. They don't speak the language. They don't live civilized lives. And they have no desire to be Germans. They have desire to wage war against Germany, jihad, and take it over. You'd think the Germans would have been hip to that by now. Item also from Breitbart. Legal immigrants helped defeat a bill that would have made Maryland a sanctuary state for illegal immigrants, says the New York Times, which admitted their, quote, voices have rarely been heard in the long debate over how to fix the nation's immigration system. The Times reports, quote, the failure of the sanctuary bills in Maryland reveals a potentially troublesome fissure for Democrats as they rush to defy Mr. Trump. Their party has staked out an activist position built around protecting undocumented immigrants, but it's one that has alienated many who might have been expected to support it. Unquote. My friends, this is true. If you're a racist, then yeah, you would expect legal immigrants here, people who've come here from any country in the world, would side with illegal immigrants, right? That's if you believe in some parody of Latinos, if you believe in some racial stereotype of Latinos. What the Democrats don't understand, and probably won't ever understand, is that Latinos are just like anybody else. They want what's best for them and their families. They're law-abiding people, and they expect other people to be similarly law-abiding. So when people come here illegally, help themselves to whatever they can get their hands on here in this country, it's not just the native-born who resent it. It's these legal immigrants who did everything the law required them to do, who are here working, raising their families, busy living as Americans. They also resent it. And so, yes, this is bad news for the Democrats, who, as I've said on many occasions, and it's as right as rain, the Democrats, the liberals, are always the true racists. That's why they love affirmative action, because they don't believe blacks can get anywhere unless they get special help. So once again, I'll finish the week on this note. If you voted Democrat, you need to wrench your brain around, my friends, and be an awful lot smarter. The Democrats are no friends of you, or your children, or this nation. The Democrats are looking to stuff their own pockets. And they don't care how they do it. Okay, end of sermon. I will be back on Monday, my friends, with more Real Truth. I hope you have a good weekend. In the meantime, stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay angry. Hasta luego.